Summer camp drills from 1968 were much more physically demanding than they are today. On the field, sounds of players and officials provide a glimpse into typical play and highly energetic banter of the era.
Watch it! Watch it! Watch it! Just keep away from me. Got 15 coming. 15 coming. Now just get away.
Anytime that the Chicago Bears defense took the field, there was a high degree of shenanigans. Like Dick Butkus here, when he jumped on a blocker's back and body slammed him on the hard dirt.
You're looking right at him. They hit him from the side. The side.
First down, quiet now. Okay, that's sportsmanlike conduct. Half the distance. Don't throw that forearm. No, he is not.
The 1968 Bears won 7 games and lost 7 games. They wouldn't win 7 games again until 1976, but their rugged defensive style of play meant that they weren't a pushover. Their roughhouse tactics aided in committing the most penalties in the NFL. They committed 26% more than the second most penalized team, the 49ers. On offense, the Bears were a running team that rushed for the most yards in the league and also topped out with the highest team yards per carry, 4.8. Gale Sayers led the NFL with the 6.2 yards per rushing attempt, as well as 95.1 rushing yards per game. Unfortunately, in Week 9's game against San Francisco, Sayers suffered a devastating knee injury that ended his sizzling season. He tore both the anterior cruciate ligament and the medial collateral ligament in his right knee, along with cartilage damage. One of the Bears' seasonal highlights was a 26-24 win over the Vikings in Week 7. After Joe Kapp and Gene Washington hooked up for a 25-yard touchdown pass late in the fourth quarter to put Minnesota ahead 24-23, the Bears' Mac Percival connected on a 47-yard field goal attempt to win the game for the Bears. In Week 12 at Tiger Stadium in Detroit, the Philadelphia Eagles earned their first win, 12-0. Tom Woodeshick ran 27 times for 79 yards. In Week 14 at Philadelphia, Gene Washington's 30-yard over-the-shoulder reception in a snow-packed end zone was one of the NFL's best of the year. The 1968 season was showcased by the dominant play of defensive end Deacon Jones, who made first-team All-Pro for the 4th consecutive season. Outside linebacker Dave Wilcox was nicknamed the Intimidator for good reason. And defensive end Carl Eller started a 4-year string of making first-team All-Pro. All 3 players ended up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Earl Morrall was an unlikely league MVP in 1968. Before I get to the reasons why, here's a little background. He was the 1956 second overall draft pick and was selected by the San Francisco 49ers out of Michigan State. In 1957, he was traded to the Steelers for 2 number 1 draft picks and linebacker Marv Matuzak. He was on the move yet again after an in-season trade with the Lions in 1958. He was packaged with 2 draft picks for future Hall of Fame quarterback Bobby Lane, the original blonde bomber. Terry Bradshaw was nicknamed that subsequent to Lane. Morrall was traded again, this time in 1965 to the Giants that involved linebacker Mike Lucci. Then on August 25, 1968, he was sent packing yet again, this time to Baltimore. Colts superstar quarterback John Unitas was the starter, but he suffered a devastating elbow injury in preseason versus Dallas. Morrall took over, threw 26 touchdown passes which led the NFL, as did his 16.0 yards per completion, and his 2,909 passing yards was second best. He led the Colts to a 13-win and 1-loss regular season record that culminated in an NFL MVP award. While Morrall rose to prominence, back-to-back seasonal passing leader Sonny Jurgensen crashed to a middle-of-the-pack passer in 1968. In both 1966 and 1967, he led the NFL in passing attempts, passing completions, and passing yards. His 31 passing touchdowns led the NFL in 1967, but he only threw 17 in 1968. Even though he passed 216 less times in 1968 than 1967, he was sacked 2 more times in 1968. The Green Bay Packers also dropped from their high perch as winners of the most recent AFL-NFL championship game to a sub-500 record team in 1968, as opposing teams stood up to them admirably. One team that seemed to be up and coming was the exciting New Orleans Saints, who finished with a 4-win, 9-loss, and 1-tie record in only their second season. One team, however, that seemed to be annually stuck in the standing cellar was the Pittsburgh Steelers. Despite having big play threat Ben Hawkins at wide receiver, the Eagles dropped from second place in the Capital Division in 1967 to last place in 1968, with the second least points scored, an average of only 14.4 per game. Future Hall of Fame tight end Mike Ditka felt the sting, as his 13 catches were a then-career low. He was traded to Dallas after the season ended. Fran Tarkenton and Norm Van Brocklin didn't mix well. Van Brocklin resigned as the Vikings head coach on February 11, 1967. Less than 1 month later, the Vikings honored Tarkenton's trade request and sent him to the Giants. Fast forward to October 1, 1968, and Van Brocklin was the Falcons' new head coach and stated, quote, "Francis will win some games he shouldn't win, but he'll lose some games he shouldn't lose," end quote. Tarkenton was quoted as saying that Van Brocklin was a great quarterback and a brilliant offensive mind, but also a dysfunctional human being. Totally dysfunctional. In this Week 5 contest, the Giants were favored to win by 14 points, as the Giants were undefeated and the Falcons hadn't won a game. Van Brocklin was right. Tarkenton served up an interception in crunch time, and Atlanta upset New York 24-21. The Minnesota Vikings made the playoffs for the first time in 1968, despite plenty of wobbly Joe Cap passes. One quarterback who didn't throw wobbly passes was John Brodie. He led the NFL in pass attempts, pass completions, and passing yards. While the 49ers deployed a powerful running game, the team needed a breakaway running back in order to become a playoff contender. Ken Willard made the Pro Bowl team for the 1968 season. He and Gary Lewis were twin 230-pound bruisers who would have benefited from some shake and bake in the backfield. The 1968 Rams ran the ball the most times in the NFL. Their main workhorses were Dick Bass, age 31, who only ran the ball one more time after 1968, and second-year up-and-comer Willie Ellison, who was a second-round draft pick in 1967 from Texas Southern. Despite the Rams' fine record, they missed the playoffs. When they were forced to pass, they couldn't get the job done, as in their 3 losses they only threw for 402 yards. The Colts won the Coastal Division and provided the Rams 2 of their defeats. The Dallas Cowboys' home was the Cotton Bowl, and they sported the league's best one-loss record at 12-2. They had a harassing defense, who gave up the second fewest points while scoring the most points. Their point differential was a remarkable plus 17.5. The Cowboys played the 10-win and 4-loss Browns in the opening round of the playoffs. Both teams' quarterbacks cut loose with plenty of passes, with 5 of them ending up into the hands of the opposition. The Browns prevailed 31-20. The Browns relied heavily upon running back Leroy Kelly, who finished second in the NFL MVP voting after leading the league with 20 total touchdowns and 1,536 scrimmage yards. He was the NFL rushing champion for the second straight season, too. The Browns also provided plenty of punishment. The Browns were the only team to beat the Colts in the regular season, 30-20 in Week 6. While the Colts tied the score at 7 with this 23-yard Tom Matte run, it was the Browns' defense that set the tone for the rest of the game. The Browns used an offensive formula of running 65% of the time and utilizing a short, safe passing scheme the other 35%. A formula that the New York Jets would employ in the AFL-NFL championship game. Both quarterbacks took their lumps in the Colts-Vikings divisional playoff game, but it was the 11-point favored to win Colts passing game that ultimately sliced the Vikings defense to ribbons. The Vikings' Joe Cap was continually harassed, and linebacker Mike Curtis rumbled 60 yards with a fumble recovery and a 24-14 Colts win. In the NFL championship game held in Cleveland, the Browns never got out of the starting gate. Rushing champ Leroy Kelly ran 13 times for only 28 yards. Bill Nelson only completed 11 passes in 26 attempts, was intercepted twice, and sacked 3 times. Frank Ryan took over, but he didn't do any better. Everything seemed to go the Colts' way. Quarterback Earl Morrall donned a clean uniform the entire day, as he wasn't sacked, and hit Willie Richardson on a couple of long gainers, along with old pro Jimmy Orr, number 28, who led the NFL with a 25.6 yards per catch in 1968. Bulldozing halfback Tom Matte, number 41, did the majority of the Colts' running. At 6 feet and 215 pounds, he ran more like a fullback. He piled up 88 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns on the day. Joe Namath made a brash proclamation prior to the start of the AFL-NFL championship game. He said, "We're going to beat the Colts. I guarantee it." The Colts were an 18-point betting favorite to win by Las Vegas oddsmakers. Early game jitters affected both quarterbacks as their timing was off. However, the Jets utilized the same effective formula that the Browns used when they beat the Colts in the regular season. They ran 60% of the time and threw safe short passes the rest of the time. Tom Matte ripped off a 58-yard run. He ran 11 times for 116 yards, but lost 1 fumble. The story of the game was that Earl Morrall was inaccurate for most of the game, and Joe Namath was accurate. The old master John Unitas replaced Morrall late in the game and conducted drives that fell short of pay dirt.